In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
I recognize this. I think this is the music they were playing when I was born. Somehow. Thanks, madam. Is that alive? I'm sorry. I love your stole. I always felt that was a really inappropriate name for stoles. It implies that you stole. No, certainly you didn't, though. You're fine. It's good. It's a fauxfer. Fauxfery. Yeah.
It has eyes.
I'm waiting for my friend. Oh, here he is.
Hey.
Yeah, I think the eyes are in the front. They're googly eyes.
Yeah, they're googly eyes. Clearly not a true mink.
There was an order that went out to some of God's special angels a while back to start sticking googly eyes on fucking everything at the grocery store and around town.
Yeah.
I was not one of the chosen,
Yeah, where would you get those?
unfortunately. So I think it was, just special assortment. You can get them from, you're asking me?
Yeah, Amazon?
I would guess you can I'm sure Amazon has like a wide array of
Googly
assorted
eyes.
sizes and varieties. The only thing is they haven't changed the googly eye in years, because I've never seen like a bloodshot googly eye, or for that matter, a red one or a blue one or a green one, or they're just always those white background, black pupil, just the cartoon eyes. And I think they should maybe they do make different kinds. They probably do, but I've not seen them.
Would you call that guerrilla marketing? Guerrilla?
What's that?
Like the googly eye trend, where people were just putting googly eyes on everything? It's kind of like a guerrilla marketing.
I don't know that I followed I suppose it was being done by gorillas, potentially. It seems like something that primates would do if you handed them googly eyes. It would just be suddenly they're stuck on everything, but welcome to America. See, I remember it was happening. There's all this statuary around Bend, Oregon. Here we go again with Bend. And by the way, we say hello to their sister city, Dover, Delaware, because together they are Bend Over. I did that at the ballpark.
I like
long time ago, I worked next to a guy who's from New Jersey who fancied my humor quite a bit, and the Bend Elks were in town, and I announced over the loudspeaker, "We'd like to welcome the contingent of fans from Bend's sister city, Dover, Delaware, here to the ballpark tonight, Dover, Delaware." And he looked at me like, "What the hell was Dover? What?" And I was just like, "Yeah, Bend Dover together." But that's where the trend started that I knew of.
In Bend, Oregon?
Oregon. They have all this statuary around town, apparently. It's, they want to be very artsy. Again, as my partner, Maddie, so perfectly pegged it, it's the place where everybody who's too good to live in Portland moves.
Right.
So they're trying to populate it. So instead of Portlandians, they're Bendlandians, I guess. But the googly eyes started showing up on all the statues around town. And then they started showing up in things on the supermarket here locally. And that's when I was just like, oh, fuck me, Jesus. I can't handle this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to live in a world where I walk into an establishment and some, jokester has gone through every aisle and popped googly eyes on all the products where it might look funny or clever.
I guess it's not vandalism, really, is it? Because it's just like there's cartoon eyes.
If the box tears upon removal, it could be considered vandalism. See, they'd put them on like a box of adult diapers, too. Those were the pictures I was seeing on social media that were shared with me. I was like, oh, great. Thankfully, I am not in the depends aisle yet, but I just thought this can't become a thing. And then the guy that I work with at the Classic Rock Station, you know who I'm talking about, he picked up on it. And so the next thing you know, there's fucking googly eyes on everything at the station. And I'm just like, no.
He doesn't seem to me to be somebody who would follow trends like that.
Yeah, he's selective, but in a very, I don't know. He was doing it. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I know exactly who you're talking about. Well,
I know. I think he thought it was going to become a trend. And I think he thought it was going to become something he could write about. So that it would.
For his clickbait.
Yes, because his clickbait of choice had been the statuary. In fact, I may have found out about it now that I think about it through his story. I think I'd seen it in the news, the stuff about Bend. And then he picked up on it. And then the next thing you know, somebody was doing it, like I said, in the supermarkets around here. And then he tried to make it a thing at the office. And thank God it didn't fly. But the two enormous, like 2-footers that he bought are still on the door to the studio.
The googly eyes?
There. Yes.
Man, how much do you think that set him back on Amazon?
Well, and I'm always the sour grape, I know, but perhaps I'm just looking for a little more function here, because you see 2-foot wide googly eyes on a door, and I may be embellishing, but they are big. The general action of just opening and closing the door is not going to make the eyes google.
No.
And the whole point of googly eyes is to be able to put them on something where you can shake them or rotate them or
like your microphone boom,
vibrate them. Yeah.
Or
so
something.
The eyes Google. And I don't understand the placement on basically a stationary object. I mean, yes, the door opens and closes, but it's just one horizontal 45-degree rotation after another. And the eyes have never wavered. They're not going to move. And so I just think, what a waste. You need to put these on something like the aircraft that you're, just tell the pilot, would you be able to stick these on the front so in case we do have a water landing, it's going to look really fucking funny to the tribes people below that are on the island before we hit the water? That'd be great.
Yeah, that's funny. So do you think that the googly eyes have replaced the peace symbol? Because I feel like the peace symbol kind of used to be something like that, but this is just more of a cartoonish kind of maybe lighten up.
I don't know if there's a replacing the peace symbol, but I'll tell you this. I haven't seen a good Kilroy was here in decades. Like, whatever happened to him? Where is Kilroy? He's not here anymore. To have been here, to put Kilroy was here. So
yeah, right.
I think they got to bring that back. Because Kilroy always looked like Ziggy. I always felt like Kilroy was the inspiration for Ziggy. When Ziggy rolled out, it was well after Kilroy was here, because I think they've been spray painting that on walls since the 40s. But when Ziggy finally rolled out, it was just like, aha, it was you little inky bastard. You're Kilroy. But
googly eyes.
By the way, just doing a really quick Google AI search, in case you don't know about Kilroy. This is in their words, not mine. It was an ubiquitous piece of World War II graffiti featuring a bald-headed character peeking over a wall that symbolized the presence of American forces worldwide and became a cultural meme. Apparently, we had memes 90 years ago. I was not aware that we had memes until the social media age.
And he had the really long nose.
Yeah. Well, I think you could make the nose as long as you wanted, but the idea was that it was a very simple drawing that even the most hapless in an artistic sense could stumble through and say, Kilroy was here. And so, yeah.
What do you think those training sessions were like when they were like, all right, folks, this is what we're going to teach you how to do. When you're out there in the bush and you guys have, been somewhere, we want you to make a mark. And instead of making a mark that, just anyone could make, we're going to teach you how to use this new cartoon character. We're going to call it Kilroy.
Yeah, I can hear that day of boot camp now. All right, today we're putting down our rifles and picking up the graphite stick that's in front of you. Just like, are we going to learn how to put someone's eye out with a graphite stick? Shut up! It's private, horse lips or whoever the fuck it was.
Oh,
no, we're going to learn how to draw. Kilroy was here, so everybody knows that American troops have been nearby and in the area. It's like, all right.
Speaking of graffiti,
that's gang graffiti when you think about it.
You know, it is. It is.
Leave it to the United States Army to actually kick off like the trend that became gang graffiti. They fucking started it with that shit.
Graffiti's been here since ancient Egypt. But no, one of the things I wanted to ask you, you're a local newsman, and graffiti has gotten really bad in our neighborhood. And I live in what most people would probably consider a middle-class neighborhood in town.
It's a nice neighborhood.
And, you know, there's a brand new picket fence that somebody put facing one of the main thoroughfares. And sure enough, somebody blasted it with graffiti.
And yeah, and it was probably tagged. And I know that there's little distinction, but to me, graffiti can actually be, and very often is, art. Like if you've ever sat and watched a train go by because you've had to sit there. I mean, God love them for spray painting those boxcars that otherwise would just say Amazon or UPS.
Right.
Or
I enjoy those.
Whatever those shipping. Yeah, so I do too. So, but tagging is just punk. You know, tagging is just, this is my gang and this is our homie symbol, and we go and just spray paint. Like
this is our territory, whatever.
I have no doubt that it's tagging that you're talking about, and
it's tagging.
You want to leave. Yeah.
So, has there ever been any discussion between you and the local law enforcement community about ways that they're trying to combat tagging? Because I do have an idea that I'd like to maybe plant in your purview, and maybe if given the opportunity to bring up tagging, you could...
Outside of the anti-graffiti wall that I believe was in Naked Gun...
I was going to say...
1 or 2, I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one.
You know, we've covered some stories about graffiti. It's very often not with law enforcement, though. It's with the city parks department, because they are inevitably responsible for all of the graffiti that takes place on public spaces here within the city limits. And they're having a hard time keeping up with not only graffiti, but just rampant vandalism, vandalizing everything for the sake of
dumpsters, whatever.
Well, they can't, the city parks used to leave the bathrooms open at night so that, passers-by, somebody out on a walk after the bar closes with a gal they met, just have with the best of intentions, just having a moonlight walk. They didn't have to unzip their fly and go behind a tree because it was a little, I just met this person. So they left the bathrooms open for you, but now they don't, because people just get in there and ransack them. Basically, they break shit. And I'm talking, they will take in, it seems to be a concerted effort, because they take in things that can break sinks off of walls. They'll take in demolition gear and just bust it up for the sake of busting it up. So the police, we've talked about it, but it has to be, we've had like kids who've been caught with spray paint cans, but that's usually just so the cops can flex. We found paint on his hands, and we found him with paint on his clothes, and we found several empty spray paint cans nearby. So we've arrested him and charged him. Was like, wow, that's
well, you go to the hardware store to buy spray paint to do a DIY project, and they ask to see your ID, or there's this thing that like prompts them to say,
that's
okay,
huffing too.
Is this person right? But like.
The paint too.
The associate and I had a little joke exchanged where I said, well, geez, they, with the parks looking the way they are, and, the walls in neighborhoods looking the way they are, they need to do a better job of background checking these people who are buying spray paint. Of course they, chuckled, ha ha ha.
They're the spray paint mules. And,
right.
So they hire out of work professionals. Actually, I've been able to get a job for couple years, and they just go buy the paint for them because they look more upstanding.
Right.
Actually, the real tough part for your neighbor, and for you, if it ever happens to your property, God forbid, is that you're responsible for cleaning it up,
absolutely,
covering it up, and the city code enforcement guy will come around after a week or so and remind you, like, hey, you have to clean this off yourself. We're not coming by. We don't send the crew to do it for you. So another, brilliant wonder about being a homeowner that they don't prepare you for.
Okay, so that leads into what my idea is for combating tagging.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So here's what I would propose. Let's say you take, people who are taggers. They're probably juveniles, right? They're probably
More than likely.
More than likely. Okay.
Miscreants usually are.
Yeah. So then you've got people who are being held in the juvenile detention facility. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say that you make it a point to where you do work parties.
Oh.
And the work parties go out and clean up the graffiti in the community.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that in some city.
Clearly, they don't do it here.
In some municipalities, they probably have that. But you're also leaning towards something that just can never be allowed in human society, and that is that the punishment fits the crime. That makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Michael, that's the problem.
Well, I'm going to sow that seed into your brain right now.
Okay.
This is the pixie dust that I'm waving at you. And next time you have an opportunity to be with an open mic and one of these people, just maybe throw that across the bow and see if it sticks.
Okay. Our local law enforcement typically is so disengaged with the media that not only do they not want to hear suggestions from them, but they,
I would say
quite a time up here this year because we had a national profile triple murder that occurred here of some children. It's over now, but right until the bitter fucking end, there was an issue with the local law enforcement community and then the federal law enforcement community and then the media because they discovered the remains of this person and decided that after 3 months of all of this news media coverage and just this saturation that nationally speaking, that they were going to put out the press release that they thought, we're pretty sure we found them, but we haven't had a chance to conclusively scientifically test the remains yet. They put it out at 8 p.m. on a Thursday.
Of course.
And as you said, as a newsman, like you just dubbed me, that doesn't do me any fucking good.
No.
It was a good thing that I actually had the next day off and happened to be up past 8 o'clock that Thursday to actually drive in and put the thing online because otherwise it wouldn't have gotten done till the morning. But you don't put a press release of that magnitude out at 8 p.m. on a Thursday. You wait until the next day if Sergeant Cooper couldn't type it up earlier in the day. And then the U.S. Marshal Service decided that, 2 feet, a leg bone, and enough personal effects of this person laying around the same area were enough for them to actually pull the plug in court.
Kilroy was here.
Kilroy was here, and that pissed the local sheriff's office off. So the next day they said, we're not done testing yet, and they're jumping the gun. They can do what they want. They've helped us because, and so 48 hours later, then all of a sudden it's okay. Now we have our evidence back. And it was a mess. I can't say honestly that they bungled it, but it was very, Andy Griffith show in many ways from the beginning. And it's not surprising because our local agencies are not ready for the circus that's going to be a manhunt for someone that kills his children in the forest. It's just, I wouldn't be surprised if many agencies weren't really set up to deal with that. That's why they call the feds in. Those guys deal with that kind of wickedness all the time. And I know that, we don't want to turn this into Nancy Grace, but
no. Now,
even to those in our circle who are very non-conspiratorial minded, it has suddenly been broached more than once now that, this was all discovered like 50 yards away from where all of this
2,000 feet
went down, And I had said this some months ago because I am of the conspiratorial mindset, because it's not conspiratorial. It's the way life works. It's how we move past things and how we get people off of our backs and how certainly we get people to stop thinking critically and objectively. That's the number one thing, especially from a government angle. Okay, look, we got to get this to go away. We're going to plant a few bones out there. It's going to be the graveyard scene for George A. Romero up at this place for a day, and we're going to put it down, and we're going to pick it up later and go, oh, look at that. There's a hand or a feet. And the next thing you know, it's going to belong to the killer. And then we're all done. And the questions can cease. And we at least look a little bit redeemable if not still like heroes in the minds of some people. I'm just suggesting that. I'm not saying that's what happened, but to me, it was farcical to suggest that given the information we were given of just exactly how strenuous and how intensive these searches for this person, which were ongoing for months, by the way,
Right.
were, that we would find parts of his body and his personal effects that close to where the actual crime was committed. You can't help but have a Columbo. Am I mistaken here, or did you actually not search under the pool table when you found the dismembered body on top of
Well,
it?
and of course, it wasn't like it was in a parking lot or a park. This is a national forest, and there's a lot of nooks and crannies, and 2,000 feet might as well have been a mile. But you're right. I mean, but I saw this a lot of times when I was working with you in local media. There is a lot of times this kind of love-hate relationship exchange that goes on with elected officials, and people, most of the time it happens with the sheriff's office or the mayor's office, because they're elected officials and they also are in kind of like a breaking news capacity. And so you've got these people who, they're your best buddy when they're trying to run for sheriff, but they'll stonewall you when it comes to giving you any information because they don't want it to. What's the word they always use? It's an ongoing investigation. So,
well, there's a number of different axioms that are presented to us in the media, depending on which door we knock on. That is basically just, it's a fuck off. It's, and I wish they would just say that sometime. I would have more respect for them if I would call and just say, Sheriff Gray, hey, how's it going? Jack Hansen over here at KYTIT. How are you? Go fuck yourself. Click. Okay, good. Now I know where we stand.
Now we know where we stand.
Now I've got it.
No, but instead they don't say anything. And then you have, the next time you hear something is on CNN, and so then it's like, well, wait a minute. How did Barbie from Atlanta get the news that this was happening when I know the guy and we talk to him every month on the morning show?
I'll give you a perfect example because this just happened last week. I was informed while sitting at the console hosting the morning show with my partner at about 7 a.m. Show starts at 6 and we're there by 5 to prep for the whole thing. So give you an idea. We've been there a couple hours. Sitting there, and a real nice fella. He is the local media guy for our district of the State Patrol here in Washington. So he's a cop. Get this text from him just about 7 a.m. straight up. Hey, did you hear about the helicopter crash? Now, that's the word he uses, helicopter crash, maybe 100 miles from where we are. I said, no, hit
viable
me.
tip.
He said, well, but here's where my issues begin. Well, you didn't hear it from me, but, and then here we go.
Nobody's name wants to be associated with that information.
So this was supposed to have taken place on another state agency's property. And so this PIO, this fella, is not only good friends with the PIO, the
PIO
chief
is
PIO.
Public Information Officer. Right. Okay. I'm just filling in the gaps for the friends in the audience.
That's fine. I know, and I hate the acronym
It's all
speak
good.
Anyway, so thank you for that. I don't like the military jargon myself. This person is good friends with the state agency district, the district of the state agency that this is supposed to have happened on here in our region. Not only that, they grew up together in the same small town that's nearby.
Yeah.
So without even thinking about it, I reached out to them and said, hey, so-and-so, your buddy from over at this other agency is telling me that there's a helicopter crash. What do you know about it? Well, this immediately got like hot potatoed about, well, maybe not immediately, but it took 20 minutes before. This didn't happen on our jurisdiction. This isn't us. You have to talk with the sheriff's office in the neighboring county where this took place. And of course, I don't have that sheriff's back pocket. I don't have
somebody you talk to regularly.
And so I got to wait till 9 until the office opens before I can call.
Business hours.
I put an email into the FAA in the meantime, but that's basically like filing a claim for lost luggage. It'll come through 9 months later from,
yeah, right.
That's not going to fucking matter. So then what happened on the backside of this is that the original person who reached out to me, who also sent me photos that a colleague of his took at the scene.
At the scene.
Yeah. So he's killing me. I know it happened.
Yeah.
I've got it from a credible source at a respected police agency.
Yeah.
I've got photos, but don't say anything. Don't use anything that I'm giving you. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Who took the photos?
I really appreciate
Give
this,
me his phone number.
I can't do anything with this until this is killing me. So this person who reached out to me drew the ire of their friend who they grew up with in the other agency because you overstepped your bounds and weren't supposed to say anything. And now it's making us sound like we did something. Okay, it wasn't a helicopter crash, as it turned out, while they were trying to get to the chopper with a patient that had a hiker who'd injured himself. Mm-hmm. Just right above, as it was touching down, the helicopter tipped over. So if the blades had broken off and actually gone into somebody's, jugular vein or whatever, we would have had a big problem. But everybody extricated the craft safely. No one was injured. The helicopter was.
It was just a mishap.
But it was exactly the definition of a mishap. But I couldn't write it until the next day because, once again, the neighboring county, of course, didn't bother to return my phone call all day. And when they finally did decide to post a picture of the tipped over helicopter and a story to go along with it, it was 9 p.m. and I was sound asleep. I can't get anywhere because the person who sends me, the law enforcement officer who sends me pictures and some information says, don't say anything. Yeah. Don't use any of this. It's just for my personal, okay, great. And then the agency that I actually could have gleaned some usable information from that I could have disseminated won't talk to me. They won't call me back.
What graffiti problem? We don't have a graffiti problem here. We don't have a graffiti problem at all. We welcome your public input, but we don't want to take that idea. No.
Well, I'm not really feeling at the risk of, anything bad for saying this, but we have a Chippendale sheriff here now too, who's taken over the county. He's, Mr. Chiseled Jaw. All the women love him. And so I call him, he's our Chippendale sheriff now. So he's our celebrity sheriff because he's good looking. But the Adonis, he couldn't crack the case. He couldn't solve it. He couldn't bring a murderer to justice. So I don't know if that hurts him in the public eye or if probably not because he's still pretty. So anyway.
Well, and it was unfortunate, the circumstances. I can't imagine. I mean, it's terrible enough going through family drama. I can't imagine having something like that play out in the public eye with loved ones. I mean, it's just, no matter how just horrific the crime might have been or how removed you might have been from it, I would imagine that's just horrible.
I'm going to bring this up because I just feel like I no holds barred usually. And, if you think I'm disrespecting people, that's your problem. So just with all deference to everybody who was upset by this, and really the whole community to some degree was, you never want to hear about that happening. And so you certainly feel for those people. I've had a family member murdered, not children of mine, so I don't know.
But still a loved one.
But sometimes it's, apples to oranges in so many ways because we experience grief differently and we process things differently. But I will bring this up. After this happened, the surviving mother was absolutely showered with money online.
Yeah.
The GoFundMe thing went berserk because the whole thing went nationwide. And there was over $1 million that was contributed to. And again, with all due respect, I would just like to know why. I understand funeral expenses, certainly. I understand if someone loses their husband and he's the breadwinner, or if someone loses their spouse, it doesn't matter which sex, and they're the breadwinner and the other person has no work experience or very little, or it's hard for them to, or they're disabled, or, I understand someone dying and being left in the wake of a financial issue, if not many. Perfectly understandable. The GoFundMe age is designed for people to be charitable in circumstances like that. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with that. I am wondering, I'm not going to just come out and say that I wholeheartedly disagree with it, but I am wondering why a surviving person of a murdered victim, or in this case 3, needs millions of dollars given to them. And it's not because the person, just like all of us are deserving of $1 million. It's not I don't like the act of buying off someone's grief. That's what bothers me in this equation. It's not that she's going to get this money. The underlying theme of, oh, you poor thing, you've had something bad enough happen to you, so now I'm going to give you $40 or $50 that after 40 or 50,000 people do it amounts to $1 million.
Yeah.
That I have a problem with. You're hawking someone's grief. You're attempting to make yourself feel better because they feel bad. But don't you think that just goes to how sick we've gotten lost in money, that we can just, did you hear about that woman who lost her kids? They were murdered by the dead.
Yeah.
Let's give her $50. It's wrong.
I think what it also goes back to is how people process grief and how people deal with grief, because there are parents out there who can do terrible things, and immediately what they want to do is they want to make it all go away by giving somebody money, or their kids, showering them with gifts when they did something terribly wrong to them. And so I think it goes back to that whole idea of how you process grief. And it's like, oh, that's a terrible thing that happened to this mother. And we want to make them, somewhat whole again. And we want to try to help them and fix them. And we're just going to throw our pocketbook at them. And
I know what I've been hit with a couple of times since I brought this up is the people don't seem to agree or disagree with my analogy. A couple of them have just literally said verbatim, well, she'll never have to work for the rest of her life. And I just think maybe that's not the best thing for someone who needs to move on from an immeasurable tragedy, someone that's probably never going to get, how do you say you get over this? Okay. Like just, things that are so remarkable. There's things that are so devastating that you don't get over them. I have a sibling who's dead and buried in ashes underneath a bunch of sunflowers in a cemetery right now because she wasn't able to get over just the vicissitude that followed her through her lifetime for whatever reason that it happened to her. It did.
I could see if somebody lost their house to a fire or, you're trying to...
That's a tangibility that needs to be rebuilt. And if you don't have insurance, or if your insurance doesn't cover it or they deny you, which they love to do, then the community pitching in, I suppose the real top drawer would be Ned Flanders, so what do you think of the house that Love built? If you've ever seen that episode where his is the only home that's lost in the hurricane that hit Springfield. All right, pitch $500,000 at them so they can pay for contractors and lumber and everything, get somebody built. And then, the nice thing about $500,000 in that circumstance is it probably only costs, $300 to build a decent house to, you got one less person now, right? Or, if that's the scenario, but if nobody died, I guess, I don't know. I think I would hope that those, within the sound of my voice, that our listeners would understand what I'm saying, because the last thing I would want to do is disrespect someone who's grieving in any way, especially in the wake of something like this. But I've heard about that. And ever since I heard about that pile of loot that just kept growing, I just got more and more bothered by just what it represents in our world, because that's what is troubling to me. I'm looking at it from a societal angle, not from a, this woman doesn't deserve that because her kids weren't. God, that's the last thing I'm saying. How can you put a price on a person? You can't. I guarantee you, if you went to this woman and said, all right, and you have this pile of money or your kids back, you know what she's going to say. So let's not pretend like what I'm saying is in any way.
No, abhorrent. I think we're understanding what you're saying. The other thing that I kind of go back to too is we just had a mass shooting in, Michigan this morning.
Oh yeah, we have them all the time.
At a Mormon church. And I am always very critical of the media when they jump to the motive, because it's like, well, isn't crazy enough of a motive? Like they're trying to justify it. But I mean, you ask yourself, what is the motive other than just hate, to kill your kids in such a way, and then to kill yourself? Or what is the motive to drive your truck through a church door and then set the place on fire? It's just, it's gotten to be such a polarizing world that we live in.
Well, I also think we need to step out of the Sherlock Holmes mindset that we've been in for a long time with crimes against society, because motive, of course, is the number one thing that law enforcement attempts to establish when they're looking to pin something on a suspect. They're trying to say, well, the husband did it, or they're trying to say, well,
and I'm not looking at it from a Columbo standpoint. I'm looking at it more from a standpoint of like source degeneration of our society.
No, I know you're not, but I what I'm saying is I think it's understandable that you would, because we're all sort of trained to think in that direction first, because we want to know what the motivation is. Because it's funny, I've been staring at this for 2 weeks now, and it's just a simple download. It's just one line. Justification is always just one thought away. So with that in mind, that's exactly what we want to do. We don't necessarily want to justify the crime, but we want to justify why it happened. We need to attach reason to something that is unreasonable. You're going to run into a wall, I think, if you're trying to prescribe a valid reason, no matter how detached you'd feel like most of the world is, because they're not that loopy, or, they would never do something like this. Once the media, depending on which side of the spin cycle it gets onto, well, I've heard everything from one side saying it's so egregious because they're transgender, or we just need to put a blanket ban on firearms.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's okay. There's a reason why this didn't happen 100 years ago, 50 years ago. And yeah, you can say Charles Whitman, but that was a one-off. I mean, we're disconnecting from each other.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Of each other.
I think that's what the motive comes back to.
That's the answer.
And that's the source code is it's like, what is it that why is it that these acts of violence seem to just kind of keep getting stronger and stronger? And it's almost like each one as it ticks away is just getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
We don't love each other.
Yeah. And
it's just that simple. And it sounds, at this point, it sounds ludicrous, let alone corny or, feminine or, effeminate or anything like that. It's true. We don't care for one another. We've got better things to do, apparently, than to care for one another. And that's what will get this to stop. And rest assured, there are a handful of people in different institutions, unfortunately, because that's where they're forced to operate, where they have rules and they're governed and they have all these, different pitfalls and traps awaiting them, but do care immensely. I mean, the people that, I've had my one parent in a nursing facility. That's a job very few people, honestly, are going to want to do, because you're changing bedpans, you're wiping up feces all day. These people are called to be caregivers. They're here as spirits in a world to caregive, and they are incredibly dedicated to it. Now, admittedly, not all of them seem to have an incredibly soft skin. There were some very abrasive personalities that I dealt with in the nursing world when my mother was there, but they had been doing this for 30 years. And I think they had hardened a skin that allowed them to deal with it, because remember, they're still a person and they're seeing a lot of suffering and dying every day. And yet they remain dedicated to the craft of simple physical care.
Yeah.
So, mental health wing is no different. It's my same old thing.
When I was in the hospital, exact same thing. Yeah. It's like you go from being an able body to now all of a sudden you're peeing in a cup as you lay down in a bed. and, somebody's taking care of you. And it was amazing, the personalities that would come through that door, and they didn't know who I was. They didn't care, and they were just there to take care of me.
Yeah, they're healers. And just like my soapbox, my old one about doctors, doctors are healers first and foremost. They're not MDs. They're not DDMDs or MDDDA or whatever, all these things they put after their fucking name on their checks, that all this institutionalizing rubbish that they go through. Yes, we have a system where they have to know what they're doing before they cut you open. I appreciate that. But by that time, usually we've squeezed the healer right out of them. And all they are now is a medical practitioner. And that is not what these children who come here to be healers are at their core. They are healers. And it's really unfortunate that they have to work in a world that is so cold and sterile as is big pharma and big medicine and big insurance, and navigate, literally the most hollow halls that we have in order to do a function that is gravely needed in a world of 8 billion people, which is to heal. May not be full-on physicians, but they definitely know how to get someone's butt clean when the time comes and make them as comfortable as possible given the circumstances. I'm just cutting right to the chase.
So yeah, how does that
anyway,
do you think tie in with this mental health angle?
Well, because I put the mental health practitioners on the same bar or near the same bar because they care. You don't go into that to get rich. Some of them wind up writing books and gives, talks all over the world. That's one in thousands of people that has to graduate from the system to actually work in that capacity. In totality, in all of this, there is a select group of people in the world who is working towards helping the person who might be so beset mentally in our world that this might be the eventual outcome, that there might be a lashing out that would involve hurting other people, even in a mass shooting.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to preclude that, but you might. But how many of the world's, and I know we're not all here to do the same thing. We're not all here to be healers, but we are in some ways. We're not all here to be professional doctors. We're not all here to be psychologists or psychiatrists. We're not all here to be caregivers in the actual working capacity, but we're all here to care for each other. And the fact that we're doing such a poor job of it with our neighbors and our friends and families, even, and our colleagues, and just total strangers that we see, that's why, in my opinion, this is showing up. So while we all look for a scapegoat in general society or in the government or in, some kind of mechanism in the world where we just go in and we just say, well, we just need to, like you said, no more plastic bags for anybody, no more weapons for anybody, no more guns, you can't do this, or, that's not it. That's not the answer. The answer is to take care of each other. And if that starts, you'd be amazed at the number of problems that will get solved, not just this one.
Well, and the other thing that I think is kind of another side of this coin, and we don't know obviously anything much about this person who drove a vehicle through the Latter-day Saints Church in Michigan, but part of me also goes back to this idea that, I think as a society, we've done so many things to safeguard people from their rights being taken away, that if I had a concern about my buddy Jack, and I thought that maybe what you were saying was a little dangerous, or I had a concern about your well-being, and I wanted to show a concern by reporting your well-being to somebody, or say, hey, wait a minute, I know this person has the right to do this, but my concern is that he recently has kind of spiraled through this such and such and such. There are very few things that the law can do to maybe take someone's firearms away from them. Or I think there's certain situations where I almost feel like even if somebody was to, see something, say something, the law would just throw their hands up and go, well, there's nothing we could have done about it.
Right, and there's probably not.
You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about, and we're also micro focusing on these specific instances. I'm talking about offering a panacea to the world. One branch of the tree is rotten.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe there's nothing we can do about it. But if we treat the whole tree, think of how many branches we may save, or we may preclude from rotting and falling on someone's head. There's a really great Stephen King book, and it was made into a movie with Christopher Walken called The Dead Zone. I'm sure you may be familiar with it. It's about a man who has a car accident and is disabled physically to a degree. He's in a coma for 5 years. He wakes up and suddenly he has the gift of second sight. And it's a very strong and very accurate gift. It's not just flighty like so much of the psychic stuff that we talk about is. And the crux of the book is that there's this politician who's a whack job who is going to eventually start World War III should he ascend to become president. And at this point, he's a very kind of two-bit politician. He's running for Senate in some states. And I don't remember the book. I'm only doing the movie now. And kudos to Martin Sheen, because he plays this nut job in the movie, and he does a spectacular job. So eventually, okay, plot spoiler alert in case you haven't seen it, I'm about to ruin it. So
turned the volume down. Yes.
Eventually, the main character, who has this sudden gift of second sight that he doesn't want, decides that he's going to take a pot shot. He's going to assassinate this guy to preclude what he has seen after coming in contact with him, which is he launches World War III and destroys the world because he's a nut job and he thinks it's his duty to do this. And again, I don't remember the book. I remember reading it years ago. You'd think I'd remember it. I don't. I remember the movie, though. In the movie, he's unsuccessful because he shoots and misses him, but the politician, played by Martin Sheen, picks up a small child, picks up a baby, I think it is, and holds and shields himself from the assassin.
Oh, just an evil person.
Yeah. And so the photos of that then appear on Time magazine. The next thing you know, this guy is absolutely ruined. He can't show his face at the A&P for a hot dog at 2 a.m. Otherwise, it's, you're the son of a bitch who was going toward the baby. It's like, it's that bad. Like,
yeah.
And then he kills himself is the end of the movie, and the end of the world is precluded. But what I'm leading up to here is there's a part in there where the main character's therapist, who's been working with him for years, physically and mentally, and is very interested in these psychic abilities because he sees some kind of a scientific tie-in. And the best doctors are ones that are interested in that realm and believe that there is a membrane that is around us. My doctor's like that. She's 100%.
Man, this podcast is starting to become a testimonial for your primary care doctor.
Oh, I love my physician. She's great.
Many times over.
But his doctor, he asks him a question because he's considering this action that is eventually the, I don't remember the word for the finale on the story, but anyway, I wish I could remember some of these words. But anyway, it's the big crescendo of the story. And he says, if you had a chance to go back in time and kill Hitler before he had a chance to head the Nazi party and do what he was at least figurehead-wise responsible for doing, would you do that? And the question kind of meanders through some other conversation they have, and then he backs up. And in the movie, he says, yes. And he's kind of got this European thing going on. We don't know where he's from exactly, but he says, I would kill the son of a bitch. Okay. What if and this is a story that has played out in different shows and stuff before. They actually did that in the show Supernatural. I don't know if you know about that show or not. It was a very popular show on the WB. They actually pulled that stunt there where they go back in time and one of the boys who's a monster hunter kills Hitler.
Sounds like a quantum leap.
So
episode.
there's all this going back in time and killing Hitler before it all happens. Kill Hitler when he's, I don't know when he rose to power. I'm thinking by 35 or so. Kill him when he's 25. Kill him when he's 20. Kill him when he's in gym class, when he's just completely circumvent this. What if this is a better alternative. What if the reason Hitler became Hitler, and I'm just saying, we can't know this for sure, but I believe that every human being possesses the innate ability universally to conduct love energy. Love energy can be conducted through all human hearts. If you have a heart beating in your chest, you can have love right there, and it can move through you, and it can move through everything and everyone around you. What happened to Ed Gein? What happened to Jeffrey Dahmer? What happened to Adolf Hitler?
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know the answer to that question to preclude that, but it is my belief that love could have, and perhaps even did at one time, flow through those people who are so notorious. So what if instead of going back in time and committing, at least in a small scale, the exact same act that we are vilifying him for doing all time, which is murder, what if we found the moment where instead we showed him compassion? We showed him love, probably as a small child in this case, 5, 6. Or do you want to be a conduit for love that precludes someone from rising to power? Fine, there would have been somebody else that probably filled the shoes. That's not the point. The point is, what if that's the way that we could forge change before we start taking shots at people, even in, a fictitious construct where we can go back in time and prevent the future that we knew to come? I'm just suggesting that about, again, the whole argument for the panacea for the whole tree instead of just cutting off the one branch.
Yeah.
What if we showed the one branch a little love instead of ignoring it? Maybe it would have survived instead of rotting and falling on someone's head. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make for an interesting movie, does it? That's the problem.
No,
it's not as interesting.
That's always been the problem with the great prophet's message. It's the same one every time, too. It doesn't matter whether it's Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha. The message is the same. We're not listening because it's not Hollywood enough. It's not, we had to do Jesus Christ Superstar because that's more interesting.
It bleeds, it leads.
Not to go, me, I'm totally non-secular, not of any theological persuasion at all. Like to think that I'm completely open-minded to all things, and I'm willing to consider all possibilities. And, I'm an open book, I guess, in that manner. But I'll quote you a couple of verses from a song by the Christian rock band Petra. How's that?
Okay.
Called Love. It's just quite simply, the song is called Love. Love is patient. Love is kind. No eyes of envy. True love is blind. Love is humble. It knows no pride, no selfish motive hidden inside. Love is gentle, makes no demands. Despite all wrong, true love still stands. Love is holy. Love is pure. It lasts forever. It will endure. That's just the first line. And I think that says it all, because you're talking about people don't even know what love looks like. The minute that you find yourself doing something compulsory that doesn't serve you is the minute, the instant you know love. Because that's this, and this is where my wagon wheels again come off. We've talked about this with my hatred. Oh, hatred. Here we talk about love. I talk about hatred. My displeasure at this selfless thing. Oh, it's so selfless. He's such a selfless person. It's so selfless. And we have a tendency to feel like, that gets caught up and intermingled with what you're talking about. Because true acts of love, true acts of concern are, in fact, selfless, even though they originate from self. But they don't serve self in a selfish way, if that makes any sense. They serve self through the purest of intentions, which is the care and concern for that which exists besides you specifically. That's the best way I can frame it.
Bet you guys didn't expect us to start quoting 1 Corinthians on this podcast, did ya?
Is that 1 Corinthians?
It is.
Well, that's very wonderfully sewn into the song that they do.
Oh, most Christian rock is.
I'm a big fan of Petra. And again, it was because I'm a huge fan of big 80s keyboard rock, and they kept producing it like 5 years after it was completely phased out because Christian rock always is way behind the times.
After it goes stale in the mainstream, right?
Thank you very much.
That's what I like about you, Jack. You know, the other thing I like about you, Jack, just to shift gears here a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about you is that you're always down for a good pop quiz. You know, if I...
Oh, no, it's Halloween
It
time
is.
again, isn't it?
It is Halloween. Everybody get out the pumpkin spice lattes or the autumnal lattes or charcoal lattes or whatever it is you're drinking these days. And
You know
we're
what
going
I'm going to do?
What are you going to
Make
do?
a really strong cup of black coffee and just melt some autumn mix in there. Just pour it in, like not just the candy corn, but the Indian corn. Are you still allowed to say that? Anyway, I just did. So. And then the little pumpkins. My girlfriend's native. It's fine. I'm off the list.
It's fine. It's fine.
And then just let it sit in there and just do its thing. So autumn mix in black coffee. That's for me. All right,
autumn
what do you
mix
got?
black coffee. Okay, if you are correct, you are going to hear this. If you are wrong, you are going to hear this. Yes, and if
I thought it would be.
if I miss the wrong, that would be good, wouldn't it? This is the horror movie quiz show, and I know that last time these were really too easy for you, so I actually had this quiz generate a little bit more of a tricky one. And in order to make it more tricky, I'm only going to read like part 1 of the description and see if you get it right. Okay.
Okay. Can I phone a friend? Because I have one sitting.
You
nearby.
could. Yeah, you could. You could do phone a friend. So the rules of the game for people who are playing at home are we're going to read descriptions of horror movies, and then Jack has to try to guess which horror movie is associated with this description or which horror movie it's describing.
Choice, or is it?
No, it's not multiple choice because
last time it was, and then I didn't even need it.
And Jack didn't even need it. I said 2 words and he was like, boom, this is what it is. And I was like, You're kidding me, right? No. So, okay, so here we go. The first one is... A family moves into a remote farmhouse, only to discover it's haunted by a malevolent spirit.
God, that's could describe 70 movies they've made now. Is this a newer movie, isn't it?
No. That's part 1 of the description. Do you want to go to the second part of the description?
Yeah, I'm going to need the second part for this one.
The youngest daughter becomes possessed.
In a farmhouse? It's not Amityville Horror, is it?
It's your final answer?
That wasn't a farmhouse. That was out on Long Island. That place was infested with, somebody from the Hamptons died up there, and that's what happens when, the insurance company doesn't pay out.
So part 3 of the description, the farmhouse throws you off. The priest is
throwing me off.
The priest is called to perform an exorcism. It's The Exorcist.
But that happened in Baltimore, in downtown.
They said it was a remote farmhouse. Did
you get this off AI?
I did.
Yeah, that's. No,
so strike 1 against AI.
That happened in the city. Although I would love to have seen the Exorcist farmhouse version because it might have ended sooner,
Okay, here we go. Question 2. A group of friends travel to a cabin in the woods.
A cabin in the woods.
There you go. Congratulations.
Which is actually, it's gory, which, I don't always like, but that's actually a pretty good movie. I like that.
Okay, question number 3. A young couple adopts a mysterious child who turns out to be anything but human.
Damien? The Omen?
I need to get harder on judging because you said a different movie at the beginning.
Sorry. Well, Damien was in The Omen. So.
Yeah, it's true. Question 4. A family is terrorized by a supernatural entity that feeds... No.
Oh.
No, it's not it.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not as good with these sound effects. It's hard to run all these things at once, I tell you. That was
fine. You're doing a hell of a job.
Insidious. The only way to survive is to confront their deepest terrors, and the movies spawned multiple sequels and a spin-off. Okay. Question 5.
I hated that movie, by the way.
A group of strangers wakes up in a mysterious abandoned asylum with no memory of how they got there.
God.
As they explore, they realize that they're being hunted by a masked killer.
Saw?
No.
Yeah,
It's
didn't
called
think so.
Grave Encounters.
Haven't seen that one.
All right. Question number 6. A young woman moves to a small town to work as a nanny, only to discover that the family that she works for is hiding a deep, dark secret. As she investigates, she uncovers a chilling conspiracy.
Oh, shit. One of those nanny conspiracies. I don't know.
You want to
That
phone
one
a
doesn't
friend?
sound familiar either. Yeah.
A young woman moves to a small town
A young woman moves to a small town.
to work as a nanny.
A young woman moves to a small town to work as a nanny and discovers a dark secret. Horror movie.
She investigates and she uncovers a chilling conspiracy.
She investigates and uncovers a chilling conspiracy. I don't know. I phoned a friend and they hung up on me. They were just like, Jack, what the hell are you doing now? Get off the damn line.
It's called The Turn of the Screw.
The Turn of the Screw. Never heard of it. Man.
This one was way harder. I feel this one
Turn
was
of the Screw. Now I may have rented that when I was, like 21 and finally able to go behind the beaded curtain at the VHS store, but that was a different turn of a screw.
I got a funny story about that once upon a time. I'll share it with you. Anyway, okay, last one. A group of friends goes on a road trip and picks up a hitchhiker who turns out to be a deranged killer.
The Hitcher.
Seriously?
Yeah. Well, that's could have worked because that's it. That's the.
As they try to escape, they realize that it's part of a deadly game.
Oh, the deadly game part, maybe not. What is that one?
The movie's title refers to a piece of clothing worn by the killer. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
There was a hit. Oh, see, I hated that movie too.
That one was weird.
Classic, but
yeah, that one was weird.
My brother tried to show me that when I was 6, and my mother absolutely lost a gasket. I was like burying my eyes, and he was just like, "No, it's funny. Look." And my mother's just like, "It's not. It's not funny." And the kid is too young. Like
the boy is too young.
It is nice though to finally. Speaking of Nazis, which we talked about earlier, just a second ago, we kind of alluded to them anyway. It's finally nice to be able to grow up and face the pig Nazis, as they call them, from American Werewolf in London, like without any fear, because that was one of the most terrifying moments for me as a child. I think that movie came out in like 1980, and I had to have been 6 or 7, and we've got home video, and my brother, of course, it's always his fault, right? So he just comes home raving, "Oh, you got to see this American Werewolf in London." Oh, remember, he's 10 years older than me, so he's in his teenage. He's prime for this stuff. And so we're sitting there watching it, and, nothing really wolfy has happened yet. And that's not really going to bother me too much because I'm not scared of lycanthropy as a kid or anything. But this, if you've seen the movie, then you're well familiar with the home invasion dream that he has with those masked creatures that come and just slaughter his family at dinner. No word from my brother that that's coming at all, and it's a very sudden onset. I screamed like blood curdling as a little boy, just sitting in front of the TV. My mother was enraged at him, just incensed. How could you not say anything? Sorry, I didn't remember it. It's just like, I was terrified. I was so terrified that even as an adult, when that would be on, I would avoid watching it because of the childhood trauma. It sounds stupid, I know, but it's true. But then finally, like at some point, I was just like, yeah, I'm too old. It doesn't matter to me.
Scariest thing, I got to watch this movie again just so I can rid my brain from this horror. Do you ever remember watching the movie Jack the Bear?
Yeah. Where Jack DeVito, Danny DeVito, plays like a late night Monsters Theater Hour host.
Yeah.
And he dresses up like Dracula Yeah, Jack the Bear.
Yeah, it was
I know that
released in
movie.
like 93, so I would have been 9 years old when this movie came out. And there's a scene in there where their next door neighbor is like a neo-Nazi.
Oh yeah, I tend to vaguely remember. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Yeah, and he kidnaps the little boy, and
Oh, I don't remember that.
oh
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, it's
Oh,
not
God.
cool.
Okay. Well, I know I've seen it, but it's been a long time. Like I said.
Yeah. Anyway, that movie that you said Nazi, and that's the first thing I went to was.
Now that's fodder for another program. I know we're out of time today, but that's one we can pick up and debate. Is like Sandpoint, Idaho, for example, which used to be like the neo-Nazi
Oh yeah.
mecca of North America. I don't know if it still is or not, but they want to put in with the city, and they've paid for all the permits, and they want to have their white power parade through downtown. Should we allow it or not? Tune in next time on Existence Brewing as we discuss these social issues that
as we solve all the world's problems.
We're supposed to. I mean, at least the one thing you can count on is this. I would think from your perspective, but especially from mine. Yes, we will absolutely chew on any and all social issues that happen in the world. But when they are digested, it's going to be in a way that plugs them into a universal stratagem. It's going to be in a way that looks at it from a much higher altitude than just the problems we have down here being human on planet Earth. I mean, we solved a problem earlier today, and that's the thing. We literally solved it, but now you have to go out and do it. See? And it really is that easy. You want to prevent mass shootings, you want to prevent muggings and robberies, you want to prevent people from feeling bad? Be kind. Love. Now go do it. See, it's not that easy, but it's true. When was the last time somebody just randomly said something to you that was kind? Not creepy, not, hey, you're looking really, I like that purse the way, not weird. I know women especially have to worry about that. I mean, a genuine compliment that made you feel good, and not necessarily about something that you own or you possess or your taste, something about the virtuousness of your nature. One of Maddie's clients at the job that she used to work at, she had Down syndrome, 40s or 50s, adult woman, presents like so many people with Down syndrome, though, as being much younger. You'd think that they were kind of young, a lot younger than that. Saw me walking down the street. She looked from the car. She looked at me and said, hey, there's my boyfriend walking down the street. And she says, oh, he looks kind. Ha. Wow. I mean, she couldn't be more wrong, but like, no, I'd like to think I'm okay. I mean, what a compliment, what an amazing thing to say without her even having met me. Just, oh, he looks kind. So imagine how good you feel coming home that night. And see, and I know it's corny and it's all after school special shit that we were supposed to have learned a long time ago, and we piss on it and we make fun of it. And it's kind of like, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Look at the old dame. She's fallen and she can't get up. Yeah, it's funny because of the way it's presented, because the people that made the commercial are idiots. I had the woman fall next door and couldn't get up. And I heard the shrieks for the better part of a morning. I kept going, what is that fucking noise? And after about 4 hours, I caught on and went next door and put my ear. And sure enough, the poor old gal has fallen and can't get up. And I'm pounding on the door, and finally we communicate. Yes, my name is Mildred. Okay, I'm getting on the phone with your son. My son's name is Chuck. Please call him. And I called him, and Chuck showed up, and mom was saved. And see, so we loved, to have a laugh at these things. We love to say, love, what a joke. Yeah. Look, it's the only thing that can save us. The only thing. And so now you got to go out and practice it. So that's your homework. One genuinely kind remark for someone at random, not someone have the courage to be kind. Because it's hard, because we don't trust each other and we always suspect an ulterior motive. And why wouldn't we? We got scammers up the wazoo, and we got people ready to rob us blind for absolutely nothing. Rob old people, our mom and dad, and but for what it's worth, even if someone says, "Yeah, fuck you, buddy," one random kind word for another person, even if it doesn't land well, hey, you try. You know what? And remember, intent is everything.
Love is patient, love is kind, no eyes of envy, true love is blind. Love is humble, it knows no pride, no selfish motive, hidden inside. Love is gentle, makes no demands, despite all wrong, true love still stands. Love is holy, love is pure, it lasts forever, it will endure. Love knows when to let go.
Hey, this is that song I was talking about.
It is. How did you know that I was going to talk to you next?
Imagine that. I don't know. I saw your mouth about to move. It's spooky how I can do that, huh?
Yeah. All right. Until we meet again.
Yes, and if we're close enough by the time this gets issued, happy All Hallows Eve. Remember, autumn mix, nothing scarier. Sugar. Sugar that looks like pumpkins.
And it's on a Friday.
God still forgives us.
Nonetheless.
And yet God still forgives us. I wouldn't. It's a good thing I'm not your deity.
Until we meet again, Jack.
See ya.
All right.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own existence brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.